Hey, I'm Nancy Cavey, National Arrest and Individual Disability Attorney. Welcome to Winning Isn't Easy. Before we get started, I have to give you a legal disclaimer. This podcast is not legal advice. The Florida Bar Association says I've got to say this, so I've said it. But I will tell you, nothing will ever prevent me from giving you an easy-to-understand overview of the disability insurance world, the games that disability carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So off we go. If you have a long-term disability claim, you also may have other claims or settlement agreements that can impact your case. Today, I'm going to cover how workers' compensation settlements, separation agreements, and severance agreements can interact with your long-term disability claim. And I'm going to talk specifically about 5 things. 1, do you have financial incentive to sign a severance agreement or a release if you're eligible for or getting arrested disability benefits? 2, what you must know about the quirky terms of employment separation agreements and elimination periods in a disability insurance claim. 3, how an employment severance agreement can destroy your disability claim if you're not careful. 4, negotiating a separation agreement with your employer without jeopardizing your long-term disability claim. And 5, why your employer might not be willing to negotiate a separate agreement with you to protect your long-term disability benefits. We've got a lot to cover, but before we do that, let's take a quick break. Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Do you have a financial incentive to sign a severance agreement or release if you're eligible for or getting arrested disability benefits? Now, I'm not a divorce attorney, but I've seen a lot of my friends get divorced, and they're never easy. And a divorce can include, if you will, a termination of your employment, particularly when you have an arrested disability claim or even a workers' compensation claim. Everybody wants to go their separate ways. So there's a divorce, if you will. Now, this divorce or even a termination can make or break your arrested disability benefits because once you're terminated, your group disability coverage ends. And that can make claiming you are disabled after the termination or after you've signed a release pretty darn hard. What is a severance agreement? Or many times a severance agreement and release in front of you, hoping that they've offered you enough money to make you go away and terminate your employment. Your employer will present you with this nice severance agreement and release, but buried in those documents is a general release of all group employee benefit claims. That includes short and long-term disability benefits. It can include group health benefits. It can include pension benefits. If you sign that severance agreement and release as is, you may have destroyed your potential for your ERISA benefits, including a short and long-term disability claim. Worse yet, the value of any potential short or long-term disability benefits can generally far exceed the value of what's offered in the severance agreement. There is, however, commonly a twist in the ERISA group long-term disability policy or plan that says, okay, we got you to sign it. We're going to give you a severance agreement. But guess what? We get to offset or reduce your long-term disability benefits by the amount of your severance pay or salary or continuation that you were paid. So in that instance, the practical result is that the long-term disability offset for the severance agreement can impact and reduce the value of your long-term disability benefits. So you're sort of getting screwed coming and going, if you will. That's a legal term. So how can you and your employer create a financial incentive to avoid these offsets? Well, the way that can be done depends in large measure on what the disability policy or plan says about offsets and how they define the term other income. Every policy or plan is unique, so you've got to have to get out yours and read it and read those specific provisions. What you'll find is that offset provisions often define other income to include severance pay, earned income, deferred income, disability pay, or even PTO. As a result, you want the severance agreement to clearly state that the severance payment does not represent any of these forms of other income. And you won't know what they are unless you've got the policy or the plan. They should be outlined specifically in the agreement and have your employer explicitly state that the severance pay is not intended to cause an offset under the plan. You call the severance pay anything that smacks of being offsettable income, you are in trouble. So otherwise, the practical result here is that you have no financial incentive to sign that severance agreement. So if the employer is dangling that severance agreement in front of you, you need to say, oh, hold up. I want a copy of my short and long-term disability policy or plan so that you can determine what the offset provisions are. Is what's being offered considered offsettable income? If so, then you need to engage in negotiations with your employer. If in fact you have a long-term disability claim, at that point your long-term disability carrier can help you. In my experience, if the release is asking you to give up anything else like your group health benefits or pension issues, then it's time to broaden your consultants, if you will. There are times when I will bring in my pension consulting attorney and have them look at the pension plan and actually look at the severance package to make sure that there isn't any adverse consequence. And my client will retain the pension attorney for the purposes of rendering that opinion. In the context of group health, you may be losing your group health benefits or the right to convert it from a group to individual coverage. And so you need to know what's going to happen with that insurance coverage, and you need to understand what's the impact of that on your group health insurance. Do you have a spouse, for example, that you can get coverage through, or do you have to go out into the market to get the health coverage? It might be that the cost of that premium is something that you want to add in, if you will, to that severance agreement, so you are not losing your valuable rights to your short and long-term disability benefits, your group health, and have an adverse impact on your pension. You can see that really can impact whether or not that severance agreement is a fair offer and whether it's in your best interest. Got it? Let's take a break.
Been robbed of your peace of mind by your disability insurance carrier? You owe it to yourself to get a copy of Robbed of Your Peace of Mind, which provides you with everything you need to know about the long-term disability claims process. Request your free copy of the book at caveylaw.com today.